I was showing a detached home in Toronto last week. Good bones, 3 bedrooms, updated kitchen, listed on Tuesday. By Thursday, it had 12 showings booked. By Sunday, it's sold over asking. Meanwhile, 2 streets over, 2-bedroom condo townhouse have been sitting on the market for 45 days, 2 price cuts, and still no firm offer. Same city, same week, 2 different markets. If you own a condo or condo townhouse, and you're trying to figure out whether now is the right time to move up to a house, that story tells you everything you need to know. But the data behind it is even more interesting. And stick around, because I'm going to show you 3 specific data points from TRREB's February 2026 numbers that explain exactly why these markets are moving in opposite directions right now. And one of those numbers is the most important signal I have seen in the last 2 years. If you own a condo townhouse in Toronto right now, you're probably asking yourself one question: does moving up to a house even make sense in this market? The honest answer is not a simple yes or no. The market is stabilizing, and whether that works for you depends entirely on which side of a very clear split you're sitting on. Now, let me show you what the data says. Most people look at Toronto real estate market as one thing: average price up or down, sales up or down. But that framing is hiding what is actually happening right now. There are 2 completely different markets inside of Toronto in 2026, and they are moving in opposite directions. So let's look at the semi-detached market. Average price in February 2026, you're selling just a little bit over $1 million. Month over month change up 8.6%. Year over year decline about 4.9%. But it's the smallest drop of any property type in Toronto, and months of supply is 2.5 months. The median days on market is 20 days. So let's look at the condo townhouse market. Average price in February 2026, $748,500. Months of supply, this is the difference. 5 months of inventory. Median days on market, 31 days. So 10 days more than semi-detached homes. So about 11 days more than semi-detached homes. Active listings are elevated. Buyers have significant negotiating leverage in this market. So 2.5 months of supply versus 5 months of supply. So semis are in a balance to seller's market. Condo townhouses are firmly in a buyer's market territory. The market you're selling from, the market you're buying into are not the same market. That difference is not working in your favor right now. Let me show you the number I mentioned at the start. The one that is the most important signal in February 2026. Here's a stat that stood out to me when I went through the February 2026 TRREB data. New listings across the GTA dropped almost 18% year over year in February. So sellers are actually pulling back. They do not want to list into a soft market. At the same time, TRREB estimates that there's more than 100,000 GTA buyers that are currently sitting on the sidelines, waiting for prices to stabilize, also waiting for maybe a trade deal. But one thing they're waiting for is confidence. And here's what happens when those 2 groups stop waiting at the same time. Buyers come back to the market where sellers have been holding back listings for months. Inventory tightens fast, and which properties tighten first? The ones that are already tight. Semi-detached homes, which is at 2.5 months of supply. The sales to new listing ratio in February was 36.1%. That's up sharply from 28% in January. The balanced market threshold, just to let you know, it's 40%. So we're getting close. The window you're looking at right now is the period just before that 100,000 waiting buyers decide to move. That is not a reason to panic. It's a reason to be informed. Let me tell you what stabilization in Toronto market actually looks like on the ground. Because the word gets used a lot, it means different things to different people. It does not mean prices going back to 2022 levels. It doesn't. Well, at least not next month. It does not mean that the market is hot again. It means the floor is forming. Here's what I'm seeing right now in the semi-detached segment. Well-priced properties in good neighborhoods are selling in 20 days or less. When priced right, they're getting multiple offers and landing 1 to 3% over asking. Not 20% over asking like in 2022, but over asking. That is a different market than 6 months ago when you could negotiate everything. Motivated buyers who have been waiting are starting to come off the sidelines for the right property at the right price. Stabilization is not a single day. It's a process. In semi-detached homes, that process started in late 2025 and is continuing into 2026. So, whether now is the right time for you depends on which of these scenarios you're in. Scenario 1, you have a genuine space problem right now. Second baby or first baby is arriving. Your kid needs their own room. You're sleeping in shifts in a place that stopped working months ago. The lifestyle cost of staying is real and adds up every single month. For you, the market timing question is almost secondary. You're not speculating. You're moving because you have to. What matters is whether equity and income qualifies. The market's stable enough to execute this move right now if the numbers work. Scenario 2, you have a space problem coming in the next 12 to 18 months. You can see it coming, but you're not there yet. You have time to plan. The data supports moving sooner rather than later for 2 reasons. First, semi-detached supply is already tightening. The properties you want are getting hard to find at 1.3 mil. Second, waiting means your condo townhouse sits in a 5-month supply market while the houses you want moves into a tighter market. The gap between the two widens while you wait. Scenario 3. You're thinking about it, but there is no real urgency yet. You bought in 2018 or 2019. Your mortgage is manageable. The space is tight, but it works for now. For you, the honest answer is that now is a reasonable time to start understanding your numbers. Not necessarily pulling the trigger immediately. Get the comparables, get pre-approved, know what your equity actually is. That way, when the right property comes up, you move quickly instead of scrambling. In all 3 scenarios, the answer is the same. Know your numbers now. The market will not wait for you to get ready after you find the house you love. If you find videos like this useful, subscribe. Every week I'll go through TRREB data and share what it actually means for people in exactly your situation. Not the headlines, just numbers behind the headlines. Let me show you where the market is likely going over the next 6 to 12 months based on what the data is telling us right now. The sales to new listing ratio hit 36% in February. The last time this ratio crossed 40% and held there, semi-detached prices in Toronto start moving up within 60 to 90 days. We're 4 points away from that threshold right now. And at the same time, new listings are down about 18% year over year. So sellers are not bringing supply to the market. If that continues into spring, which is historically a busy listing season, supply stays tight. On the demand side, more than 100,000 buyers are waiting. TRREB says they're waiting for 2 things: price stability and clarity on trade. Price stability is forming now in the semi-detached segment. When confidence returns, those buyers do not trickle back. They come back in groups. None of this is a guarantee. Real estate never is. But the data is pointing in one direction for semi-detached in Toronto. Tighter supply, recovering demand, and prices that have already found the floor in this segment. You're not trying to time the bottom perfectly. You're trying to move before the window closes. The data says that window is open right now. Well, here's the other side of the equation most people don't think about. If the semi-detached market tightens over the next 6 months, condo prices recover too. Don't get me wrong, they do recover, but more slowly because they are in a 5-month supply market. That supply has to clear before prices move up meaningfully. So if you wait 6 months, hoping your townhouse goes up, you're likely in a market where your townhouse stays flat or edges up slowly while the houses you want start moving faster. And the gap widens again. So the buyer who moves now is selling their townhouse in a buyer's market. Yes, that sort of sucks. But they're also buying their house before the semi-detached market tightens further. They're catching both sides of the trade at the same time. The buyer who waits is hoping their townhouse goes up enough to offset the house price increase. Based on the current inventory split, that's not likely the outcome. Selling in a buyer's market feels bad, but buying in the same window when the other side is already tightening is a move that makes financial sense right now. Let me give you the direct answer. The market's stabilizing. The evidence is in the data. Semi-detached supply is at 2.5 months. Sales are picking up. Well-priced properties are selling in 20 days and going over asking. The floor is forming. Does that mean prices are about to shoot up next month? It means the worst of the correction in the semi-detached segment appears to be behind us. Now is the right time to move. We have a real space problem that is not going away on its own. Your equity plus savings covers the minimum down payment and closing costs without overextending. Your combined household income qualifies you for the mortgage at current rates, and you plan to hold the house for at least 7 years. Wait if your equity position is not strong enough yet. More saving time is more valuable than market timing right now. Your income situation is uncertain. A $1.3 million purchase requires confidence in your earnings for the next several years, or you generally have no space problem. If the townhouse works, there's no reason to force the move. The market is not going to force you out of a good decision by shooting up overnight. But it's not going to stay this accessible forever. That 100,000 buyers sitting on the sidelines are going to move at the same point. And when they do, the semi-detached market will tighten quickly. Thanks again for watching. See you soon.